What is going on, guys? Welcome to another video. In this one I'm going to be showing you how the Kids Drift Trike 2.0 turned out. We're going to be firing it up for the first time, taking it for a spin, and seeing what kind of speeds we get. Let's get started. So like I mentioned in the previous episode, this one is going to a little girl, so I themed it a little bit different. This is Saint Tropez blue and coral color. I added some stripes, one stripe down the line here. Believe it or not, this tank actually splits in two. I did not know that on the first one, and then I added a couple stripes on the back, and everything turned out pretty good. I went with the aqua theme a little bit on this one, but back here, the upgrades from version 1, everything ended up working out, guys. So I got the disc brake on here, the bracket, I ended up adding a second stability bolt right here, so everything is really solid. And the sprocket on this side with the new bearing setup is 54 tooth, again just like version 1, and everything lines up. You can see the chain roller on here is a lot simpler than the first one. It just was a lot easier going on me. Before, on the first one, I had a spring setup and it was on the top of the chain, and this time it's literally just a threaded rod going across to an L bracket and a spacer right here with a roller. So there's no chain, or there's no spring action going on. It's just to guide the chain in the middle here, since it's a little bit long of a wheelbase. And I ended up getting the swapped sprocket on here, extending the bolt out just a little bit, and everything ends up lining up just nicely. So the tailpipe down here, I mentioned that I was going to go with the motorized bike exhaust. I ended up shortening that right here and getting it re-welded, and it kind of just hugs the frame. From the camera it looks like it's a lot closer to the ground, but there's pretty good clearance. I mean, enough clearance where I feel like you're already gonna know you screwed up if you hit something, you know, with your front tire here that's big enough to hit your exhaust pipe. And I've rolled it over some different bumps and tested it in different ways, and I haven't had any scraping action or anything major happen, so we should be all good to go there. Left the foot pegs pretty much standard. The forks up here turned out pretty dang good as well. I kind of polished up these spacers right here on the forks, and painted up this to match the frame. Today when I fire it up and ride this thing for you, I'm going to be using a motorized bike gas tank, because my gas tank that is going to be going on here permanently is just drying inside. It's just going to be black. You can see I had to cut out the plastic a little bit, but it sits really flush right here, and you guys will probably end up seeing it eventually. I'll post about it, but it's really simple, and it's larger capacity than version 1 too. Version 1 just had a weed whip gas tank, and this one is a full-size pocket bike gas tank, so definitely will get longer rides out of it as well. And I did end up throwing the rocket key on here for some advanced timing. I did some tests, and it looks like I'm gonna get just a little bit more torque, and possibly just a couple more miles per hour on the top end as well. But since this engine is completely stock, I figured it was the best chance to burn that rocket key that I just had sitting around. Alright guys, so before we get into the good stuff, I need to mention that this video is sponsored by Vaunt Spark LED headlamps. This is the pack that they come in. You get 2 of them, and this is one of them right here. So basically this just goes on your head and gives you a nice bright LED light. So it's light out outside obviously, but you can see that this thing is very bright, and I've been using the heck out of these guys. As we're getting into fall here, the sun just keeps setting earlier and earlier every night, which makes it difficult to be able to do stuff outside like we're used to. The other night, guys, I was painting up this bike, and I kid you not, it became completely dark out. So I strapped on the Vaunt headlamp, and I was able to continue painting without any issues. In the past, I would have had an LED light in one hand and my spray can in the other, trying to get the job done. Or even a couple years back, and still actually before the Vaunt headlamps, I'd use the house lights on the side here, and those are only motion detected, so I'd be out here waving my hands, getting like 15 seconds of light, continuing my stuff, and it just becomes very frustrating after a while. I've always wanted lamps like these to just go on the head because it's handless, and these things have been awesome. Check out the description for my promo code, 10% off all Avant products. Well guys, I just got done with those speed runs, walk out, and look at this thing. It's just completely dripping out of the overflow carb tube. This happened to me on the last motor I bought actually. Same thing, and gosh, I'm just glad that I didn't roll it inside because I very well would have rolled it right in the shop, and I actually ran upstairs, so this thing would have just been leaking gas all over the shop. But actually, I can control it since I have this tank on. Right out of the overflow tube right there. It's a common problem. Something, the float in the bowl is stuck and they just flood the overflow tube at that point. But wow, good thing I ran out here, I guess. But I did lose a ton of fuel. That's gonna wrap up this episode though, guys. I'll sort out that carburetor issue. It's usually pretty easy to fix. If not, I'll just have to replace the carburetor, let the seller know it started doing that, because like I said, it's happened to me on the last motor just like this I purchased, so common issue. But I hope you guys enjoyed the first startup with it, the speed runs, and the overall look of it. This one's going to be wrapping up, and for sure on the next one I'm going to give myself a break on these Chinese engines. Probably move into that motorized bike engine that I just built up. Looking forward to the next build though. See you in the next one.